Get some background music going on here. What's happening, party people? It's so good to see you. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. It's a great day to have some Q&A. What's happening, everybody?
There's more than one way into tech.
Oh, that's an ad. We don't want to play that. What's happening, Jamie? Good to see you over there on TikTok. Happy Monday to everybody. Just getting some stuff settled in here. Welcome to another episode and edition of the Secure Show, where we are here to help you build security that lasts beyond marriage, building healthier, happier, and whole relationships with yourself, God. That was loud. With yourself, God, and others. All right. And I don't want it to be too low. All right. Hopefully, y'all can hear that just a little bit, just a tad. All right. It's supposed to be relatively quiet. Okay. We'll make it work. If you're watching over on um, if you're watching over on YouTube and Instagram, you might hear this. You might hear it. We'll see. Um, just trying to make it as proportionate as possible. All right. Man, I'm doing all right, Jamie. I can't complain. Um, it's a great day. Another opportunity to just keep being great. So why not do that? Again, I'm really excited for just another episode in addition of the Secure Show. I'm really excited for the conversations that could be had here. This is a conversation and a question Q&A session. All right, so be sure to ask your questions. And maybe what I want to do is start making story posts on the socials, just designed for you guys to ask your questions ahead of time. But man, with all the content that's created, all of the clients and conversations that have been had, I mean, there's been plethora of questions across the board, and I just want to create sessions designed for us to get to the bottom of those things together in a safe space. All right. So, first and foremost, if you're new and we haven't been introduced, I am a faith-based relationship coach, and for the last couple years now, I've just been intentional about helping others heal and doing relationships in such a healthy way, with healthy relationships with themselves, with God, and with others, centered on getting to secure attachment or just a place of security. And these conversations have been impactful. These conversations have been helpful, and I want them to continue to be that as we just connect and grow together. We had an awesome session Saturday with just one caller, and that's sometimes all we need, is just one person. That's what we came here for, and we invested and poured into that. And so we're here to start the week off right and fresh. All right. Your boy is doing a lot of things in the background here when it comes to creating programs and all the things to help you guys move and navigate through relationships. Because truth is a lot of you are dealing with the same issues, the same situations, the same struggles, and there's just a lot of different answers that you might hear, but this is one that actually gets you to where you want to go. Okay. And we process it from nervous system places, practicality, and more importantly, getting you to a transformed version of you that's healthy, that's whole, and that's secure. Okay. So, a few things. Number one, if you go to the top of my page, you'll actually see a tree link now. Okay. A link tree link tree, same thing. And that is where I'm going to start directing you guys, not just to take your free relational diagnostic, but to also book a one-on-one call. All right. And get your one-on-one session in. So instead of maybe DM me a keyword, hey, go to the top of the page, click that link, and book your session. All right. My books are available, and there's no better time like now to get you the healing you need and us working together to get you to where you need to be. Okay, there's so many people moving in isolation nowadays. It's ridiculous. So many people who are anxiety filled and are just hoping and wishing that a day will come where things just get easier randomly. And I'm here to tell you that if we're walking in this life wishing and hoping, but not taking intentional direction steps to deal with our realities today without feeling like we need everything to be perfect to be okay, we are playing a losing game. All right. And I want to be somebody who's helped you because I was once somebody who needed that help and who got it. And it wasn't always through therapy. I mean, it was through coaching, right? It was through coaching and having people by my side who I was able to connect with and do life with, who I still connect with and do life with regularly. And I think there's just something about being able to do and process these things together that makes a difference. Okay. So be sure to click the top of my page, Instagram, TikTok, click the link, book your session, all the things. 60 minutes is all we need to make a difference and where you are. And one conversation is sometimes all you need from somebody that you trust and that you know that will take you from where you are a step closer to where you need to be. Okay. So be sure to do that. Also, you have an opportunity to get your free relational diagnostic. So be sure to do that. And also, be sure to see or DM me, okay, Secure, if you are interested and ready to join my Secure program. Okay, that actually is having a free week trial right now. And special announcement this week is going to be the first week that we include community group calls. Okay, so I have an entire community that I am doing work with, that I am helping build, and all the things. The Secure community. All right. And this is an opportunity for all of us to come together for an hour and just check in and connect with each other. Highlights, lowlights of the week, life satisfaction, getting to meet everybody, putting faces to names. And even if you're on the free plan, okay, you'll have a couple opportunities to do that. Okay. But this week is going to be the launch of the beginning of those community calls. All right. And obviously, if you actually invest into the program, you have it for year round. Okay. So not just one time, you have it for a year round. So I want you guys to invest in that. And the first step that you need to do in order to get there, well, you need to participate in the Secure Week trial. All right. And so be sure to DM me Secure so that way you can get going on that, so you can experience what it's like to just be in a community of people who are healing alongside you at different paces, however, doing it together side by side, to get to a place of security. Okay, the first call, I'm trying to decide. It might be on a Wednesday, Wednesday or Thursday. It's probably the best bet right now, but that could definitely change as we move forward. Okay, so be sure to check that out. All right, I'm excited to be able to get those things going. And is there anything else before we get some things started? New content is being uploaded regularly. All right. So be sure to follow and subscribe on my YouTube. Be sure to follow and, follow on my social, subscribe to the YouTube. I have the newest video breakdown, just helping you overcome your breakup. If you're somebody who's like stuck in your breakup, um, it's very earth shattering, has you very confused, hurt, and in a lot of pain. This is going to be a breakdown just for you. No gatekeeping, no, craziness that's happening in that video. You're going to get what you need from start to finish. And so I want you to be able to check out that latest video. And there's going to be content rolling out to get you guys involved in that as well, to keep moving forward. Okay. So we're here. We are ready and we're live. All right. So as you have questions, ask away. I just realized I didn't go live on Instagram for some reason. So we are live now. Instagram, welcome in. Um, but yeah, we are live. We're rolling. We're here. Ask your questions. What's going on? How was your week? How are you feeling? It's Monday, but it doesn't have to be a bad day. It can also be a fun day. All right. Um, so talk to me a little bit about your week. How are you feeling? Um, what's a highlight? What's a low light from your weekend? Come in with asking these few questions. Number one, what is your life satisfaction rate on a scale of 1 to 10? All right. Number two, what is one of your biggest goals that you are wanting to achieve in your relationships in 2026? Okay. What is one of your biggest goals that you're wanting to achieve in relationships in 2026? Question number three, if you were to have the healthy relationship you've envisioned today, if you were to have it today, would it be sharing any room with trauma or unhealed wounds in you? Okay. Um, if you don't answer any of those questions, ask your own. All right. This is the place to be able to navigate those things together. All right. So, question one, what is on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay. What is your life satisfaction rate? Question two, What is your biggest goal that you are wanting to achieve in your relationships in 2026? And then question three, all right, if you were to have the relationship you've always wanted today, will you be sharing any room with wounds, unhealed wounds, or trauma in your life? All right. And if you don't answer any of those questions, ask your own. All right. And let's go from there. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on some of this music so we can keep it going. It kind of sucks on TikTok because y'all just hear nothing but quietness, but like I actually am jamming over here to some of this music, and it's a shame that y'all not. I'm actually turning it on again. Anyway, again, life satisfaction rate on a scale of 1 to 10. Um, what is your biggest goal in relationships today? And if you had the best relationship you've always wanted right now, would it be sharing any room with trauma or unhealed wounds? Okay. And let's unpack it. Let's talk about it. All right. And this is a safe space. I did forget to set the guidelines. This is a safe space. We don't tolerate any bullying. All right. And so y'all can say what y'all want to me, but you won't say whatever you want to people who may come up, who may have some thoughts, maybe processing some things together. This is a safe space for us to get through that. And so if you guys see anything crazy as the show goes on, people join up, be sure to throw up the eye emoji. That'll get my attention because we need to see them and get them out of here. All right. So be sure to do that. And that's it. Again, what is your life satisfaction rate on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay. How are you feeling? What is your biggest relationship goal that you are wanting to achieve in 2026? And if you had the relationship you've always wanted today, would it be sharing any room with trauma or unhealed wounds? All right. And this is a place to be honest. All right. This is a place to be honest and to work through these things together. So let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Um, Last week was really good. This weekend's been feeling good. Um, and just really, really locking in on some focuses moving forward for this space, for this business, helping people build, create the life and relationships you've always wanted. Uh, a lot of people think that dating is the problem. A lot of people think that your relationship is the problem. Of course, this is barring any kind of toxicity, okay, that you might be experiencing in your relationships. But even then, that can be something that's discussed and processed. But a lot of people think rejection is the problem, that their attachment styles are the problem, that the dating pool is the problem. But really, what I've learned is that it's what it's revealing in you that's the problem. It's revealing the areas of lack. It's revealing the areas where you still aren't full within who God has called you to be and who you are. And all of those things are proving to be mirrors to your life. And because we don't like what we see, it's easier to blame people that we're connected to, environments that we're in, the external that we're surrounded by, and not be willing to do the work to change, to experience what we have in our life today differently, to experience life differently today than we did yesterday. And as my good friend Dr. Elijah would say, a problem with a solution is a choice. And oftentimes we don't have the problem like we say we do, but it is something else, and we don't really like the direction or necessities that need to be taken to overcome the problem. Okay, we don't like the solutions available. We don't like what the problems are revealing that really are truly the issues that we're experiencing. And we have to learn how to move forward. Um, Interesting, Nada. How to have a normal life with narcissists. Um, so one thing I did not say is that, hey, if I send you an invite to come up, which I can't, so that's interesting. Um, don't think it's strange. All right, this is a space where we're just trying to process some things a little bit healthier. All right, so if I invite you up or you request up, all right, it's a space for us to process those things together. You'll take a few minutes to ask your question. I'll take a few minutes to answer. Um, How to have a normal life with narcissists. I think there's a lot of other questions that I would have to ask before giving such a direct answer to that. Because one, when you say narcissist, what do you mean? The reason why I asked that, not to challenge anyone's intellect, but because there's a lot of verbiage that is used to describe narcissists that really aren't narcissism. It's not narcissistic. That person isn't a narcissist. Um, it's just a common buzzword that we love using that we really don't know what we're saying. And so I asked that question first. Once we identify that, then if we're defining it in a healthy lane that is more aligned with, what the actual term is, um, then narcissistic. Okay, so they have narcissistic tendencies. Um, so when I think of narcissistic tendencies, okay, I always use this type of example to set the framework. Narcissistic tendencies is basically somebody who is constantly pushing out and not reflecting in, right? And so what I mean by that is, instead of being curious and asking questions as and being able to define what they feel and how something made them feel, it's always you. Okay, that's one area. Another area of narcissistic behaviors can also be the hesitancy of looking inwardly, in the sense of responding to something that they did. Okay. Um, and so instead of acknowledging that, apologizing for that, okay, they have a way of turning it against you and making it as if it is you that caused them to do this, instead of them taking acknowledgement and acceptance over their behaviors and how that behavior made you feel. Okay. So for example, um, if there was an argument or a disagreement that happened, and, maybe that disagreement turned into verbal abuse, turned into cussing and fussing, all the things. Okay. It would be a narcissist would look at that, and instead of taking ownership of their behavior and role in that, would oftentimes find a way to make you the reason why they engaged in that. Okay. And well, if you wouldn't have X, Y, and Z, then I wouldn't have X, Y, and Z. That can be a trait of narcissistic behavior. Um, it also can be a trait of narcissistic behavior. Okay. Where it's, I don't want to use the different terminologies that everybody is familiar with without using buzzwords. But this person may also completely neglect what you feel and make it about what they feel, right? So it's less about trying to help you navigate what you're feeling and what you're describing. It's always about, well, this is how I feel, and I could care less what you feel. What I feel is not only prioritized, but what I feel is only what matters, not what you feel. Okay. So there's a lot of different things, but again, with a true narcissist, it's very difficult for them to even have a sense of awareness to a lack of safety that is within them. So oftentimes it won't even be so much about what they feel. It'll be so much about what they think they know. Okay. Um, I mean, there's a few explanations there, and I know it can go a lot further. So when you say, how do I live with a narcissist? Well, number one, recognize that the narcissist doesn't really have as much power as we give them. Okay. They don't really have as much power as we give them. And that can go a plethora of different directions, right? So people that maybe you live with, maybe it's a situation you're in, you're living with your parents, you're living with someone, and you kind of got to figure out how to make it for the season until you get to where you need to be, right? Because obviously not everything is favorable and perfect. And I want us to grow into seeing some things as opportunities too, not so much about needing everything around us to be perfect for us to be okay. And I know that there are some situations that are more dire straight than others. And so that's why there's a lot of questions to this situation exactly pertaining to your situation, because I know this is a question coming from a questioner. So I can't just answer the question. Sometimes there needs to be some context that gives us understanding of what exactly you feel like you're dealing with, and then what are the next steps to make sense. But I think just off of face value and what I know from a very limited perspective with this question, I'll give a few thoughts. Number one, narcissists don't have as much power as we give them. We have to learn to take the power back by realizing that what they're doing is exposing something in us that it's not about right or wrong. It's about what can we do to actually engage with this reality a lot differently, instead of needing to feel as if we need everything around us to be perfect, everybody around us to be perfect, or needing them to be a certain way. Acceptance goes a long way when it comes to dealing with people who are just simply lacking awareness of the behaviors they exhibit and their inability to connect, their inability to take accountability, their inability or unwillingness to take responsibility for their behaviors and actions. If we can get to a place of reflecting acceptance and just simply seeing somebody as they are, we now start losing the expectations for them to do or be someone they don't want to be or they can't be. Okay. And so acceptance is like the second piece. The first piece, okay, is well, yeah, I think that's kind of all part of taking the power back from somebody who we're claiming as a narcissist. Okay, acceptance. I'm going to live in reality of who you are instead of keep continuing to make myself frustrated, expecting you to be something you aren't showing yourself you have the capacity by condition or choice to be. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is also connecting, hey, what are the stories that we are creating behind the scenes? Because really we're not so it's it's going to sound a little off and to the left, but I just want y'all to walk with me. It's not so much about this person's behavior that is frustrating us. It's more so of what we feel they are challenging inwardly that's frustrating us. Okay, so what I mean by that is there's certain stories, meanings, expectations that are present. Okay, behind somebody behaving in a particular way, right? And so I the stories that are created are really what we're offended by, right? So this person all of a sudden is what we're claiming as a narcissist, giving narcissistic traits, behaviors, or it's something different. Okay. What we're dealing with is like, well, no, it's more so the stories behind it that's actually frustrating me. It's not so much that like maybe you not acknowledging how I feel and you prioritizing your feelings above mine is really the issue. It's more so that the story I created to that is meaning, then that must mean that you don't, like, I'm not cared for, I'm not wanted, I'm not desired, I'm not enough, I'm not valuable, right? Whatever we're identifying with behind the scenes that is creating this further agenda of our emotions to just push forward, right, into this obliviated manner where we're crashing out, we are doing all kind of things. Okay. And so that story that we've created behind the scenes is really what's creating the frustration, the anger, the sadness, the shame, the guilt, right? I want to put it in various different areas. So, and if we look at, let's look at like if someone was dealing with high severe anxiety, right? Again, it's something that you can't control in terms of who you're connected to. Sometimes we might look at that and say, wow, like this person is really causing me to be further anxious because of the anxiousness that they're moving in. But it's not necessarily their anxiety that's causing it. It's the stories you're attaching to the anxiety that you feel is causing you to move more anxiously. Because now you feel, wow, like I can't get anything done. The story is I am feeling extremely more anxious than ever before, hurried, moving fearfully. Okay. I can't keep my energy. I can't keep my peace. I can't get rest. I can't relax. It's like, no, it's just we're not finding the areas and ways to be able to engage with that, to migrate or integrate this person's experiences in a way that allows us to engage with it healthily while remaining healthy. Now, I'm not saying there isn't moments where we have to make decisions, like walking away from relationships, walking away from people, and moving ourselves out of environments. But I'm just challenging you to look at the opportunity instead of constantly trying to think that changing the external is what the answer is. Like changing the external is really the the answer. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes it's sometimes it's just I just need to change the internal approach. Okay. I just need to change the internal approach so that I can engage in the external a little bit healthily. Because you realize, like, sometimes it's not so much that we can control the external. There's some things that people are doing and people are behaving in a specific way I cannot control. It doesn't matter how much I don't want you to do this. I can give you all the information. I can give you all the therapy. I can give you all the coaching. I can give you all of the explanations. I can say it in a calm tone. I can say it in an aggressive tone. I can do a lot of things. But if you don't choose to do anything with what's given, there's nothing I can do. And we have to stop believing that we have the power to force people to change. We don't. We don't. So, the greatest win you have, especially in a situation that, no, it's not necessarily toxic and dangerous to your well being, okay? But you realize, like, in the midst of dealing with somebody you're living with, whether it's parents, family, whatever the case is, like, man, they're just all over the place. They're just all over the place. We have to learn to accept them as they are, and we have to learn to take the power back from them so that our peace is not dependent on them changing. But the piece that we are gaining is from us deconstructing, if you will, tearing down, if you will, the stories we've created in our heads based off of this person's behavior towards us. And then and by tearing that down, what is the new story that we're going to attach that gives us life, that reframes this experience for the better, not for the worse? Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Put one in the chat if that's making sense to anybody. Okay, because this is something that we don't just apply to narcissism or narcissistic behaviors. Again, there's so many other deeper things that we could address there, but because it's a very limited perspective, I know the question comes from somewhere. But I also recognize too, like, there's some things that we are just in a position where we're giving so much power to other people. And there's a way that we got to get that back without needing other people to be a certain way for us to be okay. Right. And I think that goes across the board. Now, if you're living with a narcissist, I don't know the context. If you're married, if this is a family member, is this parents, is this, I don't know. Right. But we can only control what we can control. And truth is, somebody who lacks awareness can't possibly have as much power as we give them. Can't. They just possibly can't. And I think those are certain things that we have to consider in engaging with somebody in that space. Now, I know there's a lot more I'm leaving on the table, but those are the two things that I think come to mind. We got to be able to live in it. We have to live in acceptance of the reality of somebody's behavior and who they are. That causes us to lessen, lower, and remove expectations so we can stop frustrating ourselves. And then furthermore, let's challenge some of the meaning and stories that we're attributing to what we're experiencing with this person. I say this before, this is a framework I did not create, but Tony Robbins is so amazing in this space, and something that I've been applying to so many clients is this experience, meaning, and action, right? There's three types of decisions we make daily really towards anything around us. And it's based off of the areas of your experience, the meaning, and the action. So the experience, the decision you're making here is what you're putting your focus to, lack or abundance. Lack and abundance are present everywhere. Okay. But what you put your focus to is not only what you will see, but what you'll ultimately respond to. So just because you see lack in a certain area doesn't necessarily mean that's all that's there. But that's oftentimes where our brains can function and zero in on. Sometimes the only thing that we can see is what we're lacking without feeling and thinking, well, what is around us that is abundant? What is an abundant perspective towards this situation? What's an abundant approach and opportunity towards this connection, towards this season? Finances aren't favorable. Relationships may not be as favorable. It's not that I'm in danger for my life being in this certain situation, living at home or living with someone. However, okay, there are some things that I'm noticing are infecting me mentally and emotionally that I have to be willing to address instead of continuing to bury. So there's got to be some abundant approach I can give to this that allows me to live past it instead of thinking this is what's holding me back. This person's holding me back. These people are holding me back. My situation is holding me back. And I'm just waiting on somebody to rescue me from it. Okay. So lack and abundance, right? Because lack and abundance is everywhere. Then that allows us to determine what meaning, what story am I going to give to this experience? Okay. A great example is going through a breakup. The experience is the same. The breakup happened. Then we're looking at this and we're saying one person, let's say green guy, goes through a breakup. Green guy goes through a breakup, and the meaning he attributes to it is that women are horrible. Okay. There's no good women around. And that in order to get what he wants, okay, he has to what? He has to he has to be in the streets. He has to turn the red pill. He has to get his gains up. He has to get his muscles up, his finances up to have every woman he wants. Okay. He has to do all these other things in order to be seen as valuable. So the meaning he attributes to relationships is really something that is more toxic than it is beneficial. Whereas Orange Guy goes through the same breakup and he attributes this to mean, man, she just wasn't the right one and something good is going to come out of this. And this doesn't have to be what changes me inwardly. This isn't what has to change my life. She was never designed to determine the peace that I am able to walk in. Right. And now, because he does this and he reflects inwardly and he engages with his relationships in a healthier lens, now all of a sudden he puts himself in position not just to find the right love, he's willing to love again, he's willing to do relationships again with the right person that he attracts because of the viewpoint he has, the abundant viewpoint he walks in, the abundance he chooses to live in because of who he is, that gives him the ability to create the relationship he always wanted. And not thinking that that peace is found in just abandoning monogamy, marriage, relationships, all the things like Green Guy may have found himself doing. So realize how the breakup really wasn't what changed the person. It was the meaning, the beliefs, the stories attached to the experience of the breakup that changed the person or the experience. And so that's why I'm saying when you move in this space, it is very important that we have to grow in this awareness to be mindful of the stories we rehearse and we tell ourselves, because this is ultimately what is determining the actions. There are so many people who tell themselves because of their financial situation that there's nothing that they can do. And so they stay, their action is to be stagnant. Their action is not to be resourceful and to look for opportunities to create more. Their decision and their action is to stay in this repetitive loop of not having and hoping somebody just comes along and gives them what they need. Right. And so it's like, when you're resourceful, it's not to say that things are going to change immediately, but it's teaching your brain and rewiring your nervous system to become available to further possibilities because you're looking for opportunities. And it goes the same way with your relationships. It goes the same way with people that you engage with. There's so many different things that we can really put that into perspective on. And it's unfavorable and it's not easy. It's not what everybody wants, but it's important. If everybody really was about this healing work, everybody would be doing it. Truth is, they're not, because it causes you to look inwardly, even though you've lived a life where you've constantly blamed everyone external to you as the reason why you aren't where you are, you aren't where you want to be, you don't have what you want, and all your life has been centered around other people changing for you to be comfortable. And when it comes to becoming secure, that can't be the direction we take, because we don't ever get to places of security, constantly depending on other people external of us to be a certain way for us to be okay. And I hope that made sense. That was a long rant. Got some more questions here. Shout out to everybody over on TikTok with these amazing questions. Rosie asked, "Do you think men can change once they've cheated on you?" I do. I think anybody can change. I think anybody can change. Anybody has the capacity to change. It's just the question becomes, one, are they willing, and two, are they ready? And when I say willing and readiness, so the willingness aspect of change is somebody making the decision to change, not to have something, but because they recognize that the change is the right thing to do. Okay, so when you talk about somebody who has cheated on you or has been moving in infidelity, obviously the consequence to that is the loss of relationship for a lot of people, right? Not a lot of people in this space are willing to give someone who cheated on them a second chance. And it's not to say that you have to or that you should. Um, But that's just the reality of it. And so if the response to the infidelity is, hey, we should move on and I just don't want to be in this relationship with you anymore, that is a very fair and great decision to make on the behalf of the person who was cheated on. But realize that the person who did the cheating may oftentimes feel like, okay, I don't want you to walk away and I don't want this to happen. I don't want the consequence. So I'll do whatever it takes to recover. But we'll see the legitimacy of that decision to recover based on this person's consistency and efforts of creating the change that is necessary to revive this relationship. So you can't say that, you know, don't leave and all the things, but not do what it takes to recover the relationship as it needs to be recovered, right? So I think those things go hand in hand. I think change is something that has to be made from an authentic place in order for change to be legit. But change is only seen as something that's authentic based off of the consistency and longevity of the effort taken to create that change. I'm going to see this in behaviors, not just words. Words and behaviors and thoughts are going to align. Okay. And there's going to be a form of foundation and stability that is created in the duration of the relationship moving forward. And so I do think men and women can change. It's just about somebody's willingness to change. And why are they changing? Are you changing just because you don't want to lose a relationship? Because here's the thing, he can do this change and you still be like, yeah, I'm good. Or vice versa. You can do the change and the person still is like, I'm okay. I don't want the relationship anymore. Does that mean the work you've done is now thrown out the window? If it is, you weren't changing authentically. If you only made the decision to stop cheating because you were done, because you wanted this person to stay in relationship to you, only for you to make that decision and they still walked away from you, that was what tipped you over to go back to the cheating, to go back to being the dog in a mutt, like, being a dog in a mutt. Shout out Leon Thomas. That's all it took. Then that just tells me the change wasn't legit. Just like somebody who's saying, um, just like you learn a lot from people when they, when you tell them no, right? So all of the efforts you put into the relationship only mattered as long as I was saying yes and giving you permission to whatever you wanted. But the moment I said no, now all of a sudden you went from this kind, gentle, approachable individual to now being disrespectful, distasteful, and now your character is just down the toilet. I learned a lot about you. So this is why we're coming back to the picture of this secure life that has less to do with people being a certain way that gives you permission to be okay, but a life that gives you the power and the ability to make the decision to set the tone of whatever it is you want to experience in your day. I wake up every day and I get the privilege of setting the tone of how I want to experience my day. And it doesn't mean that there aren't going to be things that happen outside of me that are going to try to thwart me off of that. Life will be lifing, fam. Like that's just a part of the game. I have an ability through practice, through intentionality, through self awareness to see that and recenter my attention and approach to the energy and abundance I was choosing to walk in at the beginning of my day. Same thing applies to relationships. I get to set the tone. I get to set the tone. And oftentimes when I set the tone, women will set the temperature. They're going to gauge that temperature, but I'm going to come in with the tone that sets up where this relationship is ultimately going to go. So I hope that answers your question. I know I kind of sidetracked there, but I do think men can change, women can change if they've cheated. I think the question is, are they willing? Okay. Is the change authentic? And then for you, if you're someone who's like, I've been cheated on and I don't know if I should be willing to accept this person's change, I think you should ask yourself, do I have the capacity to overcome this? Right. So, I mean, obviously sometimes you don't know it until you're there, but I think the question is, do you want to forgive them? Do you want to restore and reconnect this relationship? Because you don't necessarily want to put this person through that period where, they're doing all the right things, but you just seemingly can't get past the betrayal that happened, which is real, happens, but we should be honest about that. And if you're like, nah, I just don't think I can get past that, um, then that's just where it is. And that person has to live with that consequence. We're not here to salvage stuff so the person doesn't feel too bad. Women oftentimes do this, men can too, but it's often from a place of people pleasing. Like I don't want to do what I know is right for me because of how it will hurt you. Nah, fam. Nah. If you really just can't see yourself reconnecting with that person after that, then that's okay. Let it be. And that's the consequence they have to live with. And sometimes people will only learn when they recognize how good they lost, when they recognize the value of that which they lost. I've never valued a car more than after my car wreck. I've never valued a car as much as I did after I lost it to a car wreck. I've never valued and it's just small things, right? But it's just to paint the picture. I've never valued um my gaming system. I wish I had it around somewhere. My gaming system, my Xbox sticks, all the things. I've never valued that stuff so much until I realized that my own money had to go to paying for that stuff. Like it was all fun and games to be mad, crash out when I was a kid and slam my controller and break a few when I wasn't buying them. But then when I started buying them, I was like, nah, fam, you can't go around doing stuff like that. Go for a walk. Put the sticks down. you gotta you gotta learn how to manage those emotions and not go crazy. Cause now I'm the one investing into that. And it hits a little different. It hits a little different. And so, yeah, I think sometimes you just don't recognize how good you had something until that good thing walks away. And if you're that good thing and you're like, yeah, I don't feel like I can see myself moving past that, don't force it. Don't force it. Sometimes people got to learn and they don't learn until they lose something. And I'm okay with that. And I think maturity breathes us being able to be okay with that. I hope that makes sense. I hope that answers your question. Um, Yeah, it can be tragic. It can be tragic. My heart wants to give him another chance. My mind doesn't want to. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, you said your heart wants to give him a chance, but your mind doesn't want to. Well, we want to get in alignment, right? We want to get in alignment. Because I do think one of the best ways to be able to make this decision is to reflect on your values. What do you value in relationships, right? And when you come together for this relationship and for this opportunity, I think it's just more of, if you really want to give it a chance. Well, one, let me say like this. Let me back it up. I want to have a healthier beginning. One, it's not necessarily about a right or wrong decision. And I know this is a difficult thing to say, especially to women, something I've learned in my work, because naturally, women don't necessarily think of it like men in the sense of relationships. I'm not talking about cheating, just like relationships and timelines in general. Because there's a lot more typically at stake for a woman in choosing the right person. There's a lot more at stake, right? There's things at stake for both parties, but I have to be honest. There's a lot more at stake for a woman when she's choosing someone she wants to do life with, because this is not just about um, this is not just about who you can laugh with and all the things. We're talking about raising and building a family with. We're talking about whose kids you would be potentially bearing in your womb. The things that maybe are passing down through generations and all the stuff. So there's so much more at stake for a woman in what she's thinking when it comes to dating, relationships, and all the things. And of course, there's that time factor that's very present too, right? So when you look at a 2, 4, 5 year relationship that doesn't make it to marriage, you don't just see that. It's hard to naturally see that as an opportunity or something that was worth your time, because what you first see is, wow, I just wasted 5 years of my life, 5 years of my prime, 5 years of my best years to someone who ultimately did not choose me and did not want to go the distance with me. And so at any point that the woman gets to closer places where she feels like she's wasting her time, is more and more of an opportunity to, or is more and more of a space where the guy needs to realize I might be losing her. because she's like, oh, you know. But I think that's all not to necessarily create different fears or anything, but we have to be aware of that. And then, of course, these conversations that matter, direction that matters. This is why a woman asking where is the relationship going is an important question for her, because she needs to figure out, like, is this something I can still invest into and I can still build with and not feel like I'm wasting time. Now, here on this stage and on this platform, we realize that, man, God is greater than time. That doesn't mean that we just trick off time, but time just looks a little differently when you're moving through a healed, secure lens. And so there's a lot of things that we challenge there, but I don't want to ignore that that's a possibility. So, what I think is important for you is to revisit your values here. What do you value in your relationship? If you've never done that, I encourage you to make this your first time. What do you value in and about relationships? And then align not just what you want out of the relationship with this person according to your values, but what do you see in their behaviors? What about their behaviors aligns with the values you've created for yourself for a relationship? And if there is a part of you that still wants to see this through, I'm not the one that's living your life. You are. One of the greatest things that I have been able to apply and share with people is that, yes, I can't make the decisions for you. I can't make the decisions for you. Shout out to Dr. Elijah in the building. Please, y'all go show him some love. That boy posted a fire. I saw your clip. I saw your clip. I saw your clip. I just reposted it and commented on it, brother. You was cooking in there. Y'all please go show my brother some love, man. Royal Lamb, everything in regards to what he's building there. And man, I nothing but love for my bro, man. Nothing but love for him. I appreciate you. Um, so we have to be able to be okay with making the decision and not thinking that we are in a position where we are making such a wrong decision that we cannot recover. Um, and I don't want you to feel like you're in a position where if you make the wrong decision, you can't recover. Because that's more so of a fearful approach to this instead of an abundant. And I think you can give this a try. And if it don't work out, it don't work out. Love you too, man. Love you too, bro. I appreciate you. If it don't work out, it don't work out. Right? But I want you to be able to approach this from an abundant space. And I don't think you're going to, whatever decision you make, whether it's to walk away or it's to re-engage, try to figure it out, try to see what, I don't think it's going to be such a wrong decision you can't recover from. So I want to present that to you. And then secondly, also realize too, like, you're the one that's going to put this phone down, walk away from this live, and, live your life. And so I want you to feel as if you're giving your best effort to everything you do from an aligned place, of course, but making the effort to do what you need to do and what you feel makes most sense for you to do with where you are. Um, and let the chips fall where they may. I really do believe that the peace that I carry about some decisions I've made is because I know I gave what I felt I needed to give in that moment to let something, you know, come through. Looking back, did I need the follow up call? Did I need to ask clarity questions? Did I need to do all those things? Probably not. Did I recognize, like, without having language for it, that it was more so my anxiousness that was pushing me to believe that I needed to have a follow up clarity call and all the things? Probably, yeah. And would I make that same decision again in next relationships? Probably not. Right. However, that doesn't mean that I did not get what I needed out of that experience that even allowed me to see the things that I'm able to speak to now. You know what I'm saying? That's an absolute opposite. Absolutely. Like, I want y'all to think about this. Overthinking, y'all have heard it before. Overthinking is literally just you like eliminating all potential risks, right? But I want to also tell you this, like, overthinking is literally a form of manifestation. Overthinking is a legitimate form of manifestation. And oftentimes, people that live in overthinking spaces, okay? People that live in overthinking, uh, it really is them dying on a hill of people pleasing instead of confirmation in their identity, alignment in their identity, alignment in truth and values. People who overthink will die on a hill of people pleasing because I want to make sure that I make all the right decisions from a place of perfectionism. Okay. I want to make sure I make all the right decisions from a place of perfectionism so I don't get anything wrong, so that I know the result that I have was not only anticipated, it was expected. Okay. Um, and it really lowers the opportunity for disappointment. But here's the thing, and this is what overthinkers have to be able to work through. And maybe this is a future video that I create this week. I got some things lined up, and this is really good. Um, what overthinkers have to realize is that you are not better. You are not so great, okay, that you can make a decision in your life that keeps God from doing what he desires to do. Like, you are not so dope that you can make a decision in your life and God is like, well, dang, there's nothing left for me to do. I don't know how we're going to get you out of this. I don't know how this is going to turn in your favor. I don't. I don't. Like, when I God is in heaven, like, man, I thought I was Alpha and Omega and impossible, and being able to do the impossible, but I don't know about this. Like, no, fam, like, God just doesn't move like that. And yeah, control freaks, absolutely, user. Yes. Overthinkers are low key, high key control freaks, right? But there's a way to change that though. But it doesn't change, okay? It doesn't change by us trying to learn and intellectualize it though. Right. So a lot of overthinkers think, okay, well, then I just need to learn the roots and basis of my overthinking and that'll change it. Nah. Like, one of the best ways you're going to learn this is when you engage in the same situations that you were overthinking in and you allow yourself to rest. And that means making a decision and sticking to that decision you made. That means focusing on the moment instead of trying to live so far into next year, next month, and tomorrow. Overthinking speaks with the language of abundance that allows you to say, I have what I need today. Overthinking does not invite you to speak in abundance. It invites you to speak. It invites you to think on the lack. And so this is why I say overthinking is oftentimes a strategy for people, but not because it's a legit strategy that's good for you. It's a strategy to help you avoid making decisions you know you need to make. So you think of every outcome and everything in order, to try to be perfect, but it's not about being perfect. And if I can live a life where I'm not so caught up on making such a wrong decision that I just make a decision, let the chips fall where they may, and know and trust myself with the ability to recover if the decision I made is not maybe the favorable decision in the end, I think we'll see a lot of our progress a lot healthier. We'll see a lot further progress, stability, calmness, emotional regulation, alignment. So that's why I'm telling you, Rose, and I hope this is making sense. I'm telling you this because I want you to feel comfortable with making the decision that you feel is right for you in this moment. Um, I just don't want you to feel like you're in position where you can make such a wrong decision, whether that's to try it or that's not to try it, that then, you know, everything is ruined. It's not. And we'll recover and work through it. And so I really want you to just consider that. Um, and I want you to revisit your values. What makes the most sense to you? For you to move forward in your decision with this relationship and where it's at. Sometimes people do have to lose out on something that's amazing, and we have to be okay with them losing out on it. Okay. We do have to be okay with people losing out on something good, even if we don't want them to lose out on it because we know how good it is. Something that I was rewatching, I watched an older video from You guys might be familiar with him. I reference him all the time over here. Good friend and coach, Dr. Zeb. Phenomenal, phenomenal individual. But he had a video that went viral a while back, and he made a statement that I thought was so amazing. And he was saying, when you're a teenager, you don't want to listen to anybody, right? You don't think anybody can tell you anything. When you're an adult, you believe that you've earned the right to speak to certain things. You believe you've earned the right to speak into certain situations and into the lives of other people because of experiences, what you've learned, not just from experiences, but from other people, all the things. And then he says there's another level to it, and it's maturity. And maturity says that I know I could say something and I won't. And maturity invites you to be okay with where people are, even if you see where they are isn't helpful. And this is something that I'm constantly growing in myself and noticing those moments where I might cling to other people needing to be a certain way for me to be okay. And it's all a part of the rhythm that security brings. Security is not something that we arrive to, it's something that we remain in through maintenance and rhythm. Security is a rhythm. It's not something that you just arrive to and once you're there, you never go back. You're human, so you experience anxiousness. You're human, so you experience fear. You're human, so you experience anger. You're human, so you experience sadness, betrayal, hurt. And that does not mean that we don't have what it takes to come back to a place of regulation. It's just about our willingness to become aware of those moments when we aren't there and come back to a center, be recentered, come back aligned. That's really the direction that we want to go in. And I hope that made sense. And I hope that was helpful, Rosie. It sounds like it was. You guys asked a lot of questions about overthinking, so I do want to come back to that. Um, so, but this life is a test. So if you're constantly being tested, should we stay with them? Stay with what exactly? What do you mean, user? If we're constantly being tested, should we stay constantly tested by the individual, like the relationship that you're in? Is that what you're referring to? Um, how much to rely on me and how much to rely on God? Um, that's a great question. I think your measurement on relying on God, I do think we should rely on God in every aspect of our life. I just think the curiosity starts with what does that mean to rely on God? Because I do think God gives us and equips us with so much. Um, I think He equips us with so much awareness through His Word and who He is that He builds in us the capacity through self awareness, self examination to be able to make healthier decisions. And so I think sometimes when people say they try to differentiate relying on me or relying on yourself from relying on God in the sense of like, hey, you shouldn't make any decisions. God should make all the decisions. But what people hear in that is that, oh, so I should be hearing God regularly and God should be telling me what I should be doing at every given moment of every day. And that's not, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but also just from what I see between Genesis and Revelation, that's not how God operates. Um, and I think what I've seen though is that God, being connected and walking with God, He instills in us an expansion of maturity and capacity to know His voice, to know what aligns with God, and to make decisions that align in the values He's presented us. I want to give y'all an analogy that's going to make so much sense. Okay, so much sense. To kind of answer that question a little bit, and then of course keep moving forward um, with this. Okay, does this make? Do y'all want to hear this analogy? Put one in the chat if you want to hear it. I think it'll be a blessing. Um, Yeah, yeah. Again, I think this is going to make a lot of sense. This analogy is going to make a lot of sense to answer that user. God brings us doctors, therapists, and people. Well, I appreciate you for including me. You didn't have to. Very kind of you. But how much to rely on what? Yeah. So I want to give you guys this analogy. I think this will make sense. So, um, when growing up and being a child in your parents' home, right? There was a time where you weren't allowed to do certain things because it just didn't match the values in the home. What your parents said yes and no to was literally gospel, right? Um, and I want to take this to even a specific route because maybe a lot of you can experience something. You'll think of it as soon as I say it. When you were 16, 15, maybe even later in your teen years, there was a time where you wanted a tattoo or a piercing, maybe a cell phone for some of you, a car for some of you, whatever it was. And your parents told you no. Parents told you no. And it bothered you. And maybe you were asking questions why you can't. I really want one. This doesn't make sense. This sucks. Regardless of how you may have responded to it, there was a time where your parents told you no. And when they explained it to you, there was a few responses. Some of them, if you grew up in a house like mine, well, I'm just the mom and dad, so I get to say what I want. Not helpful, but that's just what it is. Then there's other people that might explain the decision. Well, listen, we don't appreciate, okay, that kind of stuff going on in our house. That isn't helpful. Okay. You know, you marking up your body, putting holes in your body, all the things. Okay, that's just not conducive. Okay. That's not attractive. That's not this, that's not that. Okay, all the things. Whatever the meaning is behind you not being able to go and do and have. Okay. And at the end of the day, even though you didn't like it, you abided by it. And because what they're doing is setting a standard of or a value, a principle in the home that in a way is trying to teach you what to care about most. And you're in this home for at least 18 years, maybe longer. No real limitation there. Okay. But you're in this home and in this space for about 18 plus years, learning more and more about what your parents value and care for, right? Because what their house, their rules. But then you grew up, you moved out, got your own car, got your own living space, and even went to Claire's and got you a piercing. Went to a tattoo parlor and got you a tattoo. And even though your parents told you when you were 15, 16 that that wasn't okay, right? And they may have shared with you why it wasn't okay because it was a resemblance of the values that they were setting a precedence in the home. You still grew up, moved out, and did it yourself. Okay. Does that mean your parents agreed with it then because you were older? Maybe not. Still didn't like it, didn't agree with it, but your parents respected the decision because it was a decision you made with the awareness of things that they have taught and raised you with, okay? And not trying to control your every move and decision you make. And what's interesting is when you went and got the tattoo, when you went and got the piercing, when you went and got the car, when you went and got whatever it was that your parents in earlier years told you not to have, okay? They were telling you not to have these things, not because they were just constantly trying to control your life, like many of us in our teenage years assume. Okay. The child in you sees your parents and caregivers as superheroes. Okay. The teenage version of you sees them as the enemy. They're haters. They don't let me do nothing. Okay. You see your parents and caregivers as superheroes, you villainize them in your teen years, and then as you become an adult, you understand them because you understand the various decisions they were making and what they were really after because they were installing in you certain things that you wanted to be mindful of to be able to hold value to because they were really trying to get you to see the principle, the value behind what it was they were actually after you taking care of that in the moment you didn't see because all you saw was wanting what you wanted. Why is this analogy making sense when it comes to knowing how much to rely on God and how much to rely on other sources and resources? Because God is ultimately giving us through his scripture and through his word the various values and principles that he desires us to live by. And as we grow and as we mature, with these values and moral principles to some extent, yes, but just these values overall that are given to us in these scriptures, we are now making decisions aligned in those values, not from the sake of being right or being wrong, heaven or hell in everything we do, but making decisions that are in the best interests of our lives moving forward in a lane of alignment. So instead of needing to hear God's voice every time to make a decision, we go back to the values and principles that He's instilled in us that guides us into the various decisions we have around us to make. Just like when you grow in your parents' home, there's values that they're instilling in you as you're being nurtured because one day you're going to move out, have your own family, you're going to have your own marriage, you're going to have your own things, and there are some basic things that we got to be able to instill in you so that you know how to manage and navigate this life yourself when you're out from underneath our roof. That doesn't mean that they no longer care. That doesn't mean that they're no longer with you. Doesn't mean that they no longer want to value you and all the things. But this is where you see, hey, we've raised you in the right way. And we just trust that with what we've instilled in you, you're able to make healthier decisions that are best in you. So this is kind of the direction that we want to move in because truth is that I mean, coaches, counselors, therapists, all these things, these are people that God uses to speak into our lives. Obviously depending on who they are and, all the things. But God uses these platforms and people to speak into our lives. Not everybody and not everything, but God can use anyone and anything. Right. And so, depending on God or depending on yourself doesn't mean, depending on yourself more than depending on God doesn't mean that you're enabled, that you should, how am I saying this? I want to be sure I word this correctly. Um, if you're the type of person that says I depend on God more than myself, that doesn't mean you're absent of making decisions and moving in logic and reasoning. That doesn't mean that we don't look at something for what it is and make a decision. Sometimes we believe that once we follow God, that just means it's absent of us needing to think. That's not true. Like the very scriptures that we read tells us to prove, like to study to show ourselves approved, to always be ready to and willing to give an answer. The same scriptures that tell us that if Christ never raised from the dead, we are of most pitied. So what does that invite us to do? That invites us to be like, yo, there's got to be some realities to this that I got to do some research and understanding on to actually know whether or not this is as real as we have grown up to believe it is. So I'm not invited to just, you know, move in this group think mentality. I have to investigate this stuff myself. And what better way to investigate it than to apply what you're reading, apply what you've learned, apply the principles and values that have been shared to you. And regardless of the results, we know that we're able to recover because it's not the end of the world. And so I hope that made sense. What I'm trying to get to you is relying on God and other people. God has provided us with people that He uses within community, resources, and all the things. That doesn't mean that we are abandoning God. We're not listening to God. We're not valuing God. No, I think because you're in community and you're connected to other people and you're connected to spaces like this, that you are looking for that sense of security and connection, camaraderie, healing that comes through various means that God decides to use. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And that doesn't mean that you're betraying him in the event that you listen to a coach, you listen to a counselor, you listen to somebody who has a way of giving wisdom in various different lenses, exercising their gift. I, I see that as you're engaging in what God has given in various different ways. Here's a great reflection of it. Isaiah refers to Jesus, the coming Messiah, as the wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. The government shall rest upon his shoulders, and he shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. So what's so beautiful about that is if the very being of God is also known as Wise Counselor, okay, uh, Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. So there's two descriptions in here out of all four that not only reflect the image and being of God, but because we are reflected in his image and he bears in us, he bears witness to the gifts he's instilled in us, that the idea of counseling and speaking wisdom and life that bring peace is also something that God uses to bring others to bring others closer to him, and he uses people to do it, creation to do it. I don't think that's too far fetched to suggest. So I hope that made sense though. I went on a long rant there. I just think yeah, we don't necessarily want to overthink it. I've run into a lot of people in my work who are so spiritual, so spiritually minded that they're no earthly good. What should I do if my partner blocked me when I don't know what I did wrong? Ain't nothing you can do if you're blocked. I think you should just let it go. That sounds so dismissive in a way, but I want you to hear this. When people block, Spencer, when people block you or when we block other people, blocking is an emotional decision. Blocking is an emotional decision. Not every time that you block means that you're doing it out of emotionalism. Sometimes, okay, there can be moments where okay, there's like harassment. This person is not, you know, adhering to the boundaries that are there, right? And so I got to get you out the paint. But if it's not in that description and category, oftentimes it is emotionalism and you're blocking them from emotional places because they're probably not bothering you. They're not harassing you. They're not doing anything that is detrimental to your health mentally and emotionally. Okay. And you were her first healthy and secure partner too. So that is easily a sign, Spence, right? That her blocking you is more about her, less about you. And even though you might have been on the receiving end of that, okay, truth is that when we deal with people who are oftentimes living from places of survival, they will do survival things. And it's less about us needing to figure out why so we can correct it or that so we can reconnect. I think you allow this space given to reinvestigate, well, what about this relationship aligns with what I want and what I'm after in the first place? Does now being in connection with this person for as long as I have, we're not trying to recreate and rekindle feelings. We're not here to recreate the butterflies. We're not here to no. I just want to know, does this make sense for me to even go back to? What about this makes sense for me to even put myself in position to go back towards if there was an opportunity? Because I'm gonna be honest, if I'm blocked by somebody, even someone that I was in connection with or in relationship to, and I got blocked, like I'm just taking that as information. Like, okay, cool. Like, so clearly this isn't even something that I'm going to deal with. Okay. If I'm in a romantic relationship with somebody and they're blocking me, I'm probably in the wrong place. I don't have time. I don't have time. We will handle things like adults. We will talk things through. And I lead with that. So I'm not dealing with putting up with nobody that just when you get mad, you block me. You know what I mean? And I mean, and if she did, it would be because I didn't know it. Like she blocked me, after finishing the conversation, but unblocked me in the morning, I guess. I don't know. But it's like, no, I'm not. I'm too, we don't have time for that. And so I just think you should look at this as an opportunity to just reinvestigate and say, now that I've experienced what I've experienced with this person, does it make sense to go back? Yeah, and when you've done all you can, Spencer, your peace doesn't come from you getting back in contact with her. Your peace comes from you knowing you did all you were supposed to do. And as hard as it may be, we have to now learn what it looks like to let go of that relationship and grieve it. if this is meaning the end of it. I just think it's as simple as that. I really do. Because like I'm just not in the business of trying to prove to somebody who blocked me why they should unblock me and why we should stay together. I'm just not in that position where I'm putting on PowerPoint presentations to people that are still operating from survival places. And that doesn't mean that she needs to be perfect to be with me. I think it's a like all of us in one way or another, because of our programming and what we have to come to realizations of to heal through. We've all been in spaces where we have operated from survival paradigms. If we think hard enough, there's an area in our life where we're still moving from survival thinking. And we become aware of that and we deal with that in process. So I know in this dating space and all the things that I've got my struggles just like the person I'm connecting with has theirs. And that is okay. But one thing we will do is be able to process these things together. We're not going to sit here and just continue to go back and forth and try to force things that just aren't there. I'm not in that business. It whether she's scared to be loved and be to love and be loved, I don't know. I'm not going to attach the story to it. I think we have the opportunity though to let it be what it is and move forward. You know. So I hope that's helpful. Appreciate you guys asking all the questions. Please keep asking them. I got a few more minutes here. Maybe about 10 more minutes. So I got a couple more questions in me, and then we'll keep it going uh, and going from there. Okay. I appreciate you guys. Listen, if you are interested in booking your session and getting on my calendar, please be sure to go to the top of my page on my socials, my link tree in my or in my TikTok specifically. Um, Coach Sean Walker, and then be sure to click that link tree, click book one-on-one call, and book your session. Um, and 60 minutes is all we need to be able to get you to where from where you are to where you really want to be with a mapped out plan and application in place. Be sure to also get your free relational diagnostic, which would be the second link in that link tree, becoming-secure.com. Click into relationship portal to get your relationship diagnostic so you know next steps you need to take to be able to move forward from there. Um, and DM me secure on all social media platforms if you're interested in joining my secure program designed to get you from anxious or avoidant attachment to secure attachment. If you're interested in contacting me on TikTok, be sure to DM me the word secure. Yes. Oh, I see you. Hey, I appreciate you, Spencer. I just saw your message. Be sure to go. So at the top of my page on my profile, okay, click that link or click that my profile, my picture. You should see it at the top left on this stream or again on my profile. Um, and then there's a link tree link at that is linked in the bio area. Okay, click that and then click book one-on-one call. All right, and that's where you'll be able to book your session for a day that works best for you. 60 minutes is all we need. 60 minutes is all we need. And I want to see you on my calendar for sure to process and work through some things. Sounds like there's some more to process and unpack. Okay. Um, and I'm excited. Okay. Any more questions? Any more questions? I want to scroll back up because there were some questions earlier about overthinking um, that I wanted to get to. But before that, Michelle asked in the TikTok comment section, should I walk away from a guy who broke up with me but then regretted it a day later? Again, I think it's a matter of, you know, what do you see that makes you want to go back? Whether she's still here, maybe not. Um, I do think it's a matter of where do you want to go, or what makes you want to go back. Okay, so it's not a matter of should you or should you not. I don't want to put the prisms of the shoulds and should nots. I want to be able to give you what you need to make the decision that makes the most sense for you. Is it like where you are, what you're looking for, and what you value? Does this make sense to go back? Why did the breakup happen in the first place? Someone who breaks up with another person and then regrets it instantly a day later could mean a plethora of things. It doesn't always mean the cutest of things. Sometimes it can mean like this person, maybe they, they clearly were overreacting in some extent that led them to break up. Maybe there's some other emotional things that are present. But again, instead of attaching so many different stories, I think I just, instead of the shoulds or should nots, what makes the most sense for me? What aligns most with me and what I want, what I'm looking for, what I'm ready for? And is this it? And if not, we can let it go. We can let it go. Um, if I were in your shoes, again, I don't know the context of the relationship, so I guess I can't say if I were in your shoes, but if there was a moment I was in a relationship with someone and they broke up with me and then a day later regretted it, um, I think it would be important for me to set a standard and set a boundary. And I think when I say I set a boundary, I think that's probably the best way I could communicate it in language you guys would get it. But what I'm saying is that I would essentially lead and say, so look, um, I'm not against being, if it is that I'm not against being in a relationship with them. It's like, hey, look, I'm not against being connected to you and being in a relationship with you. But we're not going to go back and forth, um, being together and then broken up with as a regular routine. Like that can't happen. If there's a problem, if there's an issue, even if we might need a few days to really process it, that's fine. But I'm not going to go back and forth and breaking up with you 1 minute and then being back together with you the next day out of regret. So we're not going to have this game where we're going back and forth and you're treating me like I'm a light switch. You just get to turn me on and off when you like it. I need you to make a decision and I need you to make a decision and stand on it. Either you're here or you're not. Either way, I'm okay. But either you're here or you're not. Cuz I'm not cuz if you're second guessing about me, chances are if you're unsure about me, chances are you really don't want me. And I've learned this. If you are unsure about me, chances are you don't truly want me. Whether that is some reservation you carry, whether that's something you're not seeing enough of, it doesn't matter and it doesn't mean any mind to me. It's never mind to me. But I'm going to set that precedence and let the chips fall where they may. Because the next time if I were to take that, I would have, hey, so like if we get to that point again, that is okay, but I'm not going to I'm not going to go back and forth on that. I'm not going to go back and forth on that. And so I think it's just a matter of what you want. What does this align with your values? Do you like what you see? And if so, move forward with it. Okay. Um, but if you feel like you've seen all you needed to see and you're okay with not coming back together, don't force it. It's just a matter of what is healthiest for you. What makes most sense for you and what is healthiest for you. And don't be afraid to make the decision because you're not going to make a decision so wrong that you can't recover from it. Okay? And I hope that made sense. Um yeah, and we answered that, Spencer, for sure. Let's see. My values are spending time with each other, communicating, telling each other secrets, and I don't see. Interesting. Overthinking hurts. It takes a lot of time to get out of that pattern. Yeah, I mean, I think overcoming overthinking can take some time. It's not something that happens overnight. But realize too that overthinking is oftentimes a decision that you've built so strong of neural pathways in your brain with that it's easier to overthink than it is to just let something be. Even now, y'all, like and just being honest about my own journey. Like there are moments because I was a critical overthinker due to my anxiousness that I did not really know was as strong in certain areas of my life until it got exposed. But there's moments even now, I might overthink certain patterns or certain things, and I just have to remind myself that it I can't control what other people do, and um I trust that if what I've given is what this person really wants or really needs, they'll take it. I trust that what I've given in what I've given is that this person will take advantage of if they really want it. If they really want it. We all know what it's like to really want something and really go after it, no matter how small it was. From what you got at the food line when you were in school to um, you know, a relationship or a conversation you wanted with somebody, money you needed. Like when, we know what it's like. We know what it's like to go after what we want and make that decision. So I trust that other people have the capacity to do that. And instead of living in fear that I'm making the wrong decision every turn, I'm going to choose to invest in knowing that I'm making the best decision with what I know today, and I have what I need and I'll have what I need when I need it, and I have what I need today. Something I'm constantly rehearsing in my mind, especially recently. I'll have what I need when I need it, and I have what I need today. And one of the greatest features to destroying overthinking is by simply being in the now. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, but I trust I'll be able to handle it because of what I've been given and the capacity I have within me. I don't know what the end of the week looks like. I'm not there yet. And even though my mind oftentimes likes to run with stories that are portraying what the end of the week could look like, what I'll be able to do, what I'll be able to have, truth is, I don't know. And this is why I say overthinking can be a form of manifestation, because you can overthink yourself into specific spaces in life. The stress, the anxiety, the sadness, the guilt, all of the different emotions and paradigms there, we were overthinking our way into that direction. We weren't sad, confused, hurt, or nothing to start the week. But it was one moment that tripped us up, and we started running with so many stories in our mind that we were already experiencing a form of sadness to an outcome that hasn't even happened yet. You're worried about what the end of the year looks like, and we're in July. I remind my clients of this all the time. And when you hear it out loud, it's laughter. Sounds crazy, but this is part of us getting into that repetition of being aligned in relaxation of our nervous system. That's why I say a lot of this work is at an identity level and nervous system level. I have tips and tricks for days. I don't give them because your identity needs more than that. It needs more than that. You need a sense of stability and structure that you can come back to and rebuild consistently to be able to move forward. That's why I have my programs, that's why I have my community, that's why I have all of these tangible practical places to put you in, because the work is not something that you're just going to complete in one moment, y'all. It's going to be repetitive. We got to keep showing up so we can keep growing up and building this rhythm. And right now, what we're seeing is a lot of people aren't in rhythm. You're just kind of hoping and wandering. We got to get in a place of rhythm. And when we do, things change over time. Even if the external doesn't change immediately, it doesn't mean what we're doing doesn't work. All work works, whether it works in us or for us. And when we believe that, the value of the work that we're doing only grows, only increases. It only increases. Hey, I appreciate the daily heartbeat. Thank you so much. What is your like? Oh, great question, Leah. Yeah, congrats, Spain. Shout out to y'all. You said what is okay? So you're asking what is my success rate in dating online? My success rate is actually pretty comfortable. I don't necessarily. You asked for a rate, so I don't know if I have necessarily like a percentage, but like, let's say out of the number of matches that I have recently, let's just go recently. One, two, three, four. Yeah, I mean, I've advanced 4 matches that I've had to phone numbers, I guess. If that's what you're asking. So like dating online and transition, because like there's like checkpoints and all the things that we've talked about before. I think it's a decent success rate. Not necessarily by how many, but just being intentional with the ones that I am matching with and connecting with. Um, Going on dates, all that stuff. It's just a matter of intentionality and consistency and moving with abundance. So I hope that kind of answers your question. Um, but yeah, yeah, I feel like my success rate is pretty solid for the most part. Um, but there might be a different way to answer that. I feel like I'm leaving something out. I just don't know what. So maybe not. But yeah, I hope that made sense. Any other questions? Any questions before we get on out of here? I appreciate you guys a ton for stopping by and locking in with your boy in this Ask Me Anything session. Again, um, safe space designed to just process all things relationship related, um, and helping you build security that lasts beyond marriage. How long have you been online? This would make, I'm pretty sure we're coming up on a month. Um, no, I'm pretty sure we're past a month. Like I want to say anywhere between like 30 to 40 days. Um, Somewhere around there. Yeah, like 30 to 40 days with online dating. I've been actually recording content and processing some of that. So you guys will start seeing some stuff soon, like in vlog format, just of what that process real life looks like. I noticed that there's a lot of people who talk a lot about dating, but don't really give insights to the journeys. And one thing that I really love from a content perspective is watching the journeys unfold for people when it comes to dating. And they don't necessarily go into complete details like maybe I will, but just kind of seeing the journey unfold. You know, what does the everyday kind of look like? And is it what people expect? Because like I'm not matching and talking. Not every day is like a match and a date. You know, um, especially with some months where things are just fluctuating. Like not every month is like okay, yeah, we matching and dating and we going on a date a week and all the things. Um, Sometimes it's just getting on there sending messages. Sometimes it's responding to messages that are already there. Um, you know, people that I have matched with, I mean, we've been matched for a little bit and there's the messages are slow. Like a lot of people are just experiencing burnout and tired and fatigue. So I don't put a lot of pressure on people to respond quickly or consistently. And I think if they do, that shows me that they're more interested and willing. And so now we have a little bit of something else to build on, but still keeping it in a checkpoint perspective. So we go from the match to the messages to, let's exchange numbers. Let's talk a little bit more there. Schedule a FaceTime. You know, some of the stuff that we talked about in the series. If you guys aren't familiar with what I'm referring to, it is the Dating App Dilemma series. It's all the replays are up on my YouTube. Be sure to watch that. That literally gives you a step by step breakdown on just a healthy approach to dating and using dating apps. Um, for those of you who are dating and for those of you who are looking to know what it looks like to date healthily using dating apps that people are looking at as atrocious and bottom of the barrel, there's a way that we can engage with it healthily, securely, and still get results. So be sure to check out that series. It's like a 16-part series. Long videos, but you'll get a lot out of them. All right. So be sure to check that out over on my YouTube. Replays are up now. Does that make sense, Leah? Did that answer your question? Did you have any more on that? Um, Out of 30 to 40 days, I've been on I've been on one date. I've had 20 or so matches out of, I don't know, countless accounts I've swiped on and sent messages to. Um, and what is that? Four? I think it's like four exchange numbers and conversations. So like obviously all of them. There's been three of them that, again, initial candidates. All three of them I ended. Um, I was like, I'm gonna just keep looking. Um, being intentional, being honest, communicating that. So all three of them I ended, and there's one more that I'm just currently connecting with. And so plans will be made and all the things to see what a date looks like there. And I'm excited for that. So, yeah, hope that answers your question. I appreciate you guys a ton. Listen, be sure to go to the top of my page on my TikTok, um, and be sure to click the link tree. There, you'll be able to book your one-on-one call and get your free relational diagnostic. Okay, be sure to do that. Be sure to, for YouTube, be sure to click the link in the description to book your one-on-one call, or to click the becoming-secure.com link to get your free relational diagnostic. Also, DM me secure across my socials if you're interested in joining my secure program designed to get you from anxious or avoidant attachment to secure attachment. And you'll see a lot of these things play out in your life, in all dimensions. So be sure to check that out. DM me so we can get that conversation going. And I'm excited to be doing work with you there. This is a great time to get involved in the community in my Becoming Secure app. Yes, your boy has his own app. It is a great time to get involved in that because we will be launching our first community meeting this week, and you want to be a part of that. All right. If you're on the free end of it, you'll have one call that you'll have access to. And of course, this is going to invite you to want to upgrade, to be locked in and intentional with everything we got going on here. So you can be a part of the weekly calls every week. Okay. But you'll get just a little taste of what it's like to be a part of the community fully, and to be a part of the programs there. So we're launching that this week. If you want to be a person that's involved in that, again, DM me the word secure. I want to get you started on the secure program 1 week trial. Okay. That is how you'll be able to get going in that, and we'll be able to move forward from there. Okay. Be sure to follow, subscribe as we continue to build healthier and happier and whole relationships with ourselves, God, and others while building security that lasts beyond marriage. New content is on the way. And I appreciate you guys so much. And until next time, we'll be going live same time tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And until then, be easy and be breezy, my friends. Peace. Peace out.